As we mentioned earlier, the search for the missing girl, Caylee Anthony, is now entering its fourth long, agonizing week. And for a closer look at how all of this got started, remember, Caylee's mother, Casey, says the little girl was missing for more than a month before anybody reported her missing. And last night, on the record with Greta Van Susteren, Caylee's grandmother, Cindy Anthony, described the moments before she made that 911 call. Take a listen.
She told me that, again, immediately that she was with the babysitter. And she said, Mom, we could go pick her up tomorrow. And I said, I'm not waiting another day to see her. I said, you're obviously not where you said you were. And, you know, I'm not a believer right now that Caylee's where you're saying she is. And she maintained that she was with the sitter and that she was safe. And I said, well, that's not a good enough answer. And we drove around for a while, and when I didn't get the answers that I wanted, I said, well, if I can't get you to tell me where she's at. And at this time, we weren't yelling, screaming, anything. It was still very calm conversation. I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to just drive to the police station. So I drove to Orlando Police Station, which was close to our home. And it was after 5:30. I didn't know they closed their doors at 5:30. So I sat in the parking lot and I said, well, you know, I don't know what else to do. I said, I'm going to call 911. And she said, go ahead, Mom, you can call.
The grandmother, Cindy, made 3 911 calls that night, including one call in which she said the car her daughter was driving smelled like a decomposing body. Now, with me is defense attorney Chris Amolsch and Andrew Smiley, who is a trial attorney. Andrew, let me start with you. First, we hear Cindy Anthony, the grandmother, wanting her own daughter arrested, demanding of it in the first 911 call. She stole her car, she stole her money. Now, all of a sudden, we're hearing a very defensive grandmother who seems to buy into her daughter's explanation of the babysitter kidnapping Caylee. You think the parents, the mother in particular, are complicit in their daughter's lies?
I think so. I think everything about this case, frankly, stinks, and it's getting worse by the day with the more that we learn. Something went on here, and something is going on that the family all knows about, and they're not talking about. And I think what's happening is the grandmother is now realizing they're into this knee-deep, with the investigators showing up in the media on it, and now she's trying to project herself in the best light possible, and realizing that she could also be facing some criminal charges if she doesn't start cooperating. So maybe she's trying to deflect something, but it smells. 30 days go by. How come the grandmother wasn't more involved?
Right.
There's something not right here.
You know what, Chris? This whole thing stinks, and everybody connected to it stinks, including the grandparents.
Right.
I mean, the grandmother's comments are forever coded and cryptic, and several have been inconsistent. I've counted 5 inconsistent statements. Is the grandmother credible whenever she utters a single word?
Well, I think she's learning what this is really about. This is not a missing persons investigation. This is a murder investigation. And anybody who speaks to the police runs the risk, or it speaks to anybody about this, runs the risk of having their words turned back on them in ways that might actually make them look guilty when they were innocently said. And so now they're having their words repeated to them, inconsistencies. There's 5 inconsistencies, which you say are inconsistencies. Yeah. And now they're trying to cover themselves up when they should not have been speaking to the police or anybody about this to begin with. Right. That's why you have a right not to talk to anybody. Not because you're guilty, but because when you're innocent, you can be made to look guilty.
All right, I want to play another soundbite from the grandmother, Cindy Anthony. Here it is.
My issue was, where's Caylee? And from that point on, that's what my issue's been, where's Caylee? I didn't care her explanation. I didn't care where she said she was at. My focus was in tell me where Caylee's at or take me to where Caylee's at. And she assured me that by the morning that I would probably be able to see Caylee. I wasn't assured of that. So Lee and I spoke with her for 45 minutes to an hour, probably before I made that second 911 call.
Andrew, cops say the mother, Casey Anthony, is a prolific liar, spins nothing but lies. And parents had to know that. They've been living with her.
Sure.
And what you said a moment ago is really, I think, important. Where were the parents for a whole month? After all, the granddaughter is supposed to be living there.
Exactly. I mean, what she's saying is now 30 days go by, and she just happens to ask her daughter, where's my granddaughter? Where is she? And then she starts getting concerned and starts looking for it. It just doesn't sound right. A grandmother that has the grandchild living there, the kid's not seen for 30 days, and she waits to have this conversation. Something was going on there, and they're just not they're not letting anybody know
Chris,
what's happening.
Let me ask you real quickly. The crew's making fun of me because I said I've known a lot of mothers, but the fact is that all the mothers I've ever known would be absolutely out of their mind with their missing daughter, and this woman wasn't.
Well, you don't know that she wasn't out of her mind. All we know is that there's a gap between the time she disappears and the time she reports it to the police. We don't know that she wasn't frantically searching the entire time.
If she was frantically searching, her own parents would know that, with whom she lives. Plus, we'd hear it on the 911 call. We'd hear it on the jailhouse conversations. It's not there.
Everybody assumes it. Everybody assumes that, but you don't know what's going on in these people's lives. You don't know how their relationships are. You don't know who knows what about where anybody is. We're all guessing. And
well, that's the point. It raises suspicion.
All right.
It raises suspicion. That's the whole point.
I'm getting the hard rap, but you guys are joining us a bit later in the program. Chris Amos and Andrew Smalley. Guys, thanks very much.
Thanks.
All right, who's Caylee's father? A lot of people have been emailing us about that. It remains one of the unanswered questions in this whole mystery, but there is one name that is coming up repeatedly. We're going to talk to the attorney hired by the family who could at some point claim that Caylee is their granddaughter. That's first on Studio Via Next.